Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining me for soul readings. This is Caroline Peterson in Sarasota, Florida. Today I did an experiment because the scheduled link for the soul readings never worked. I could never figure out how to do that. And yesterday I was communicating with two different people who are experienced, and they didn't know how to make the link go live. It's very confusing to me how this is possible. It seems like it should be very easy. But so far, no one knows how to do it. And I definitely don't know how to do it. And so, what I decided to do for today is just to go live at the time that I'm supposed to without a link that doesn't work. So, so far, nobody's here. It's just me. And so what I'm trying to do in these first weeks is to like figure out the technology and also like figure out what times work for people, so that I can have these times that people could actually show up, because I know like some people are on the East Coast, some people are on the West Coast, some people are elsewhere. And so I'm kind of like experimenting with different times of day. Um, and we'll see what ends up working for people. Um, One of the things that I was thinking about talking about today, in case nobody showed up, was one of the things people always ask about is the archangels. And they're like, well, how can I connect to the archangels? And well, you are. Everybody is. Everybody's connected to guidance. Everybody is connected to the divine. Everybody is connected to spirit. It's like something you can't unconnect from. It's something that you can not be aware of. Now, that's a different thing, but it's something that you can't disconnect from. So for me, it reminds me of the Tao, the path, right? And so the idea is that you can't get off your path. You can't get on your path either, because you're just on your path. It's not something you do to get on it or get off of it. It's just what you are. It's just the way life is. You are on your path. Life unfolds in the way that it is meant to unfold for you, so you can have the lessons that you need to learn, the soul, the the agreements that you have, kind of like the commitments that you've made to yourself for the lessons that you have committed to learn for this life. And so that's just the way it is. That is kind of like preordained in a way. Um, and so, as we are all connected to spirit, the divine, God, Jesus, Yahweh, you know, whatever whatever you want to say, Lakshmi, it doesn't Rama, it doesn't matter. Whatever words that you have and whatever like identity you have for the divine, that's all great, right? Because in my way of thinking about things, in my way of understanding things, is that the divine is just the divine. We are the divine. Like the divine is not something outside of us. The divine is not something that's that's distanced from us that we need to approximate. The divine is everywhere, and we're here, and so we're also the divine. So what we have are different cultural overlays and understandings, and things that change in popularity over time, dependent on what issues the culture or the species is working with. But in my way of thinking about it, it's not like there's a birth and death of a god. It's just like there's different expressions depending on who we are, what we need, and what we can relate to at that point in time. And so what I'm going to do is connect to my guides, to the archangels, and just kind of ask them, like, how do we do this? How do we connect? So first I'm going to talk to Michael, because he's kind of like he is kind of like, I feel like he's kind of like my overall mentor and guide. Like he doesn't have like a specialty role. He's just like my go-to archangel. So I'm going to ask him, how can we connect to you, Michael? How can we connect to you? And so what he's saying is like, you don't have to connect. You are connected. I am connected. Like this isn't something that goes away. This is just the way it is. So basically I'm asking the wrong question. So there is a better question, like, how can we have an awareness of the connection that we have with you? Is that a better question? And so what he's saying is that the reason that people limit their awareness, people kind of like, they kind of like bring it in, like they get too little. So they're not like as they're not as willing to acknowledge their full capacity because they're afraid. And what are they afraid of? That they'll see things as they really are. And what is that? Why is that fearful? Like, what is the danger or the fear that they feel about that? And so what he's saying is that mankind's, and by mankind I mean humankind's greatest fear is that love is the only thing that's real. Humankind's greatest fear is that love is the only thing that's real. Why is this terrifying for us? Because what Michael is saying, because when we realize that love is the only thing that's real, there's no other. And in realizing there's no other, what that means is that there's no, and not only that there's like no enemy, there's nothing to fight against, but also there's no past, there's no future. There's just like this eternal now. And there's the eternal one. And that somehow is very terrifying for us. Where does this come from? Where does this fear come from? I'm asking him. So, oh, I see. So the fear comes from an apprehension of separation anxiety. And so there's this feeling that instead of just being like, blissed out, like all is one, like love is the only thing that's real, like the now is all that is. Like we can't do that. We're like, what's happening? What's scary is that we're like, this is so awesome. I don't want to lose it. I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. That makes me feel apprehension. That makes me feel like maybe there's going to be separation. Like, how can this good thing keep going on? Like, and so Michael is calling this like separation anxiety. And so like if you think about psychology and Bowlby and stuff like that, what is separation anxiety? It's a form of insecure attachment, right? Insecure attachment is what causes separation anxiety. If you have secure attachment with your caregiver, then you don't experience separation anxiety because you are living in this eternal now. You have this relationship that's ongoing, even if they leave, even if they're not there momentarily. And then you don't have to be, when they come back, you don't have to be clingy. You don't have to be like, oh my God, don't leave again. That was terrible. You can just be like, hey, I know you got my back. You left for a few minutes. That's fine because I'm okay. I know you've got your eye on me. I know you're taking care of me even when you're not here. And when you come back, that's awesome. I'm so glad to see you again. And also, I enjoy playing over here and you do your thing. I'll do my thing. Great. Awesome. And so somehow for us as a species, at least at this point in time, we have this insecure attachment with the divine, and is what Michael is saying. And so why is that? And so this is because what we've done is to place the divine outside of ourselves, where we don't see we don't see us as being part of the divine. We see something as, the divine that's external to us, something that can leave, something that can come, that can disappear. Like everybody's heard the story of like Mother Teresa, who's like, I'm divinely inspired. I'm going to India. Oh, then I never heard God's voice again. Right. And so then she goes into like this deep state of depression the rest of her life, where she's like, what is going on? What about the divine? Who am I? Why is this? And so I'm not, that's, so what Michael is saying is that that's kind of like part of the problem, is seeing the divine on the outside, is not seeing it integrated in us. And so really the first step is to recognize that there is no separation from the divine. We cannot be separated from the divine, no matter what we do, no matter where we are, no matter anything, no matter what. We cannot be separated because we are one with the divine. And so, Michael, how do we come to appreciate and to experience this truth that there is no separation between us and the divine? What do we need to do to fully embody that? So Michael's like, all you really need to do is let go of the old assumptions that there's a disc. All you need to do is to let go of the old assumptions that the divine is outside of you, the divine is separate from you. Once you acknowledge the truth that you are fully integrated with the divine, then everything is just normal. Everything is just normal. And so, how do we recognize the truth that we are wholly one and united with the divine, that there is no separation? How do we do that? How do we let go of the old false perception that we had of separation? How do we let go of that? And so, what Michael is saying is pray. And so, how do we pray? Okay. And so what Michael is saying is that this is really like the type of communion or commitment that is very similar to what we need when we have like a soul retrieval, or when there is a discovery and attempt to reintegrate a hidden aspect of self. Um, these things all require about 30 days of making a daily commitment to connect. And what happens with a soul retrieval or a discovery and reintegration of hidden or alienated aspects of self is that there's this excitement of the discovery in the first day, and and then usually there's kind of like some confusion and kind of some like distancing and like puzzlement and being upset about the separation. And then every day for 30 days what needs to happen is that you connect. And so what I will often have my patients do is to keep what I call a dragon diary, because for me, when a alienated or hidden aspect of self comes back, it will also often comes back in the form of a dragon, independent of what your power animal is. And so for these 30 days, what you're doing is like drawing your perception of that alienated aspect of self or dragon. Or if it's a soul retrieval from a certain time in your life, what you're doing is connecting with that child, typically at that age, and you're doing things that they want to do, and things that you probably missed out on when you were 3 or 5 or whatever age it was, when there was some soul loss, or the soul was kind of like tucked away a little bit for that child because of a like dangerous situation that they were living in. And so you'll just like be like, "What do you want? Peanut butter and jelly? Should we go swing? Do you want to go to the zoo?" Like whatever it is that little child, that point in time, missed out on, then that's the gift that you're giving them. And so this is the same way of connecting to the divine. So every day you're spending time in communion. So that could be, so Spirit is saying, Michael is saying, prayer. And so that could be something in your head, it could be something spoken, it could be something that you're writing down. It could be a listening activity like meditation. So what we know, what for sure Michael is not saying, is that prayer is not about writing a I want list or please do list or please help list or that kind of thing. That's not like the kind of prayer that connects us to divine in a way that helps us remember that we are integrated with the divine. That's a kind of prayer that further sort of recapitulates or concretizes this notion that the divine is outside of us and has different will and a different understanding than we have, and we have to kind of like set them straight about what needs to be done, and so that's not a helpful form of communication. If you want to remember that you're already connected to the divine is part of you. And so and so every day for 30 days, Michael is saying commune or pray to connect. I mean, you could start with Michael because he's so awesome, and I think that you'll really love it. And just be like, "Hey, who are you? Tell me about yourself." And he'll be like, "Hey, who are you? I'm you. Tell me about you." Oh my God. It's going to be an awesome conversation, you guys. And so, just what I would do is just like get a special journal. And this is devoted to you getting to know the archangels. So, first, you're starting out with Michael, just do 1 month for him. Every single day, praying and saying, so these are the questions. Okay, Michael, he's going to tell me the questions that you have to ask. So you're going to start by saying, like, "Hey, hi, who are you? Tell me about yourself." And so what he's saying is that it's not like it's not like, you are the question answer and the listener. Like, you're not an interrogator, right? It's going to be like a discussion. It's going to be like a conversation. And so that's why he's like, you're going to say to me, like, "Hi, how are you? What's going on? Tell me about yourself." And then he'll go back. He's going to say the same thing back to you. He's going to be like, "Okay, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. But tell me about you because we're one. And so tell me about you because that's who I am. You are who I am." Do you follow what I'm saying? Michael is saying, "You are who I am. And so you tell me about you," is what Michael is saying. And so it's this reflection, it's this self-reflective, self-referential, reverential experience of of perceiving, going from a misperception of the divine to a correct perception of the divine to a knowing of the divine. And so that's the first question. And we'll go to another question. So the next question is for you to ask Michael, and then Michael will ask you, is like, "Tell me about the things you like. Tell me about the things you like." And then he'll say, "Tell me about the things you like because we're the same." Awesome. So tell me about the things you like. And then what's the next one? And so the next one is just like this sense of like love. Like, "I love you so much. I love you so much. Like, I want to share that love with you. I want to be that love with you." And then kind of like having this communion, like, "What is that like for you, like, to share this love with me?" And then Michael's asking you, like, "What is that like for you to feel this proximate to love, to recognize you are love, that you cannot separate from love? What is that like for you?" So this is part of the third sort of question about getting to know Michael, is like this question, this feeling, this experience of loving another and loving oneself simultaneously, and then eventually recognizing that's ultimately the same thing. He's like, "That's enough to get you started." So those are good questions. Thank you, Michael. And so those are really good questions to start with in your journal. And just like remembering this is a conversation that you are going to be talking back and forth. And a lot of people find it helpful to write things down because a lot of times if you're like in communion, like it's very hard to remember what happened unless it's recorded or written down or something like that. For some people, it's not going to be something they want to do, record or writing it down. And we are transformed by the communion itself, by the prayer itself. So it's not necessary. Some people just kind of like to be able to go back, but the actual prayer itself is transformative. Yeah. Thank you for joining me today in the soul reading and getting to know Michael a little bit and finding out from him the steps of like recognizing that he and the other archangels and the divine are really part of us already, that there is no separation, that love is the only thing that's real.